Hello everyone, it's Leo and I am finally ready to talk about Sailor Moon Eternal, the movies. I'm wearing my Super Sailor Mercury t-shirt. I got this as a present in my birthday from a very dear friend of mine. My birthday was just 2 days after Sailor Moon Eternal arrived on Netflix, so I was living the Sailor Moon fantasy. This made me live it even in a stronger way. I'm still living the Sailor Moon fantasy, let me be honest. And I have watched both movies 4 times, so I think I'm ready to share. I don't know, but I think I am. But before we get into an actual discussion about the movies, I want to say that I am a die-hard Sailor Moon fan. Since I was probably like 13, 14 years old. I'm 34 years old now, so it's been like 20 years being a Sailor Moon fan. And I love the Sailor Moon media and the Sailor Moon franchise, but the Sailor Moon manga is my favorite piece of Sailor Moon media. I live for the Sailor Moon manga. I love it. It is my favorite manga in the world. I love manga in general. I read a lot of manga and I consume a lot of this media, but the Sailor Moon manga is my absolute manga in the world. I love it. I live for it. Oh my god. So I was obviously very excited for Sailor Moon Eternal, and my discussion here is going to come from someone who is a very big fan of the original work, and from someone who was expecting to see the original work animated, and also from someone who probably can't really look at it very objectively. I've known this story for so long, so watching it animated, seeing it animated, and almost the same story, it's something familiar, but at the same time it's a totally new feeling, totally fresh to see those characters on screen acting, speaking, and oh my god, what an experience. So my discussion here is going to come from a place of lots of love and from a place of a die-hard Sailor Moon manga fan. So let's start. First off, I want to say that after reading critics from people that went to the cinemas to watch this movie in Japan, I was not expecting the animation to look that good. I've heard some people say that it looked more or less like Sailor Moon Crystal Season 3, animation-wise, which was a season that I really loved. It's my favorite anime ever. Sailor Moon Crystal Season 3 is my favorite anime. But I was expecting, when you see anime movie, you expect something grand. So I was not expecting to see something grand because people said it didn't really look that wow. So I was my expectations concerning the animation was okay. Concerning the story, I was expecting it to be more or less the same story of the manga without many changes, because that's what they've been doing since season 2 of Crystal, half of season 1, I don't know how to call it, because season 1 is 1 and 2, but you know what I mean. Since the Black Moon arc, they've been adapting the manga pretty faithfully after they tried to change some of the stuff in the first season that did not work out very well. So they've been pretty faithful in the adaptations, so I was not expecting to see many changes. And I was curious to see how the Kazuko Tadano's style was gonna work in animation, because I don't think that her style, when it comes to static images, exudes the feeling of the manga. So I was a little how is this gonna go? But after watching the movie, maybe her style, as in static pictures, it doesn't have the same feel of the manga, but in animation, oh my god, it works perfectly. It is a simple style, but it sometimes gets very complex, and you can see lots of details. They give a lot of love to certain drawings that blew me away when I was watching. So the Katsuko Tadano style works perfectly, perfect. Oh my god, I was not expecting to love this style so much in animation. Damn it, it looks so good. And still talking about animation, I think that the colors of the movie are very pretty. In season 3, we had more of a dark palette. The colors were never very bright, and it felt that they didn't really want to go all out with the colors, which made a lot of sense with the Infinity arc, so it was a good choice. But in this arc, I think that if we didn't have many colors and bright colors, it wouldn't look that good because in the Dreams arc, it makes a lot of sense. So I was blown away with the way the colors were used in the movie. They look bright and they look pastel but bright, and in certain moments they look very bright and things look very colorful, which I think fit the whole aesthetic of the Dreams arc perfectly, like 100%. I'm not a person who understands a lot of color theory, but for me, everything looked so harmonious that I love it. And another thing that I love in Eternal is the backgrounds. The backgrounds are very pretty, and I love the contrast between the backgrounds and the characters, and I feel like they look very aesthetic. So another thing that was a concern of mine was the pacing, because we have 2 movies to adapt a whole arc, and lots of things happen in this arc, so I was like, how are they gonna fit everything into 2 movies? Maybe a series would be better. So my answer to this is, after watching the movies, is perfect pacing in the movies. They're very fast. Very fast, I agree. But the manga is also very fast and frenetic. The manga doesn't give you room to breathe that much, and I like this. I think that in other arcs, like the Stars arc, it's even stronger, but in this one it's present, and I like this rhythm. So the rhythm of the movies, they were great, and I really liked it. I think that it was the perfect choice for this arc in movie form. It was very good, and even with the fast pacing, I think that everything that is important in the manga was there in the animation. Some of the things were not there, they didn't adapt one-to-one, but I think that the things that they left out weren't really very important to the whole understanding of it all. So I believe that it worked very well in movie form, maybe even better than Crystal and Crystal Season 3 in terms of pacing, even though I'm not here criticizing Season 3, okay? The pacing in Season 3 is very good. And I think the responsible person for that is Chiaki-kon. Chiaki-kon is someone who, in my mind, understands the rhythm of the manga. She can really translate the manga into animation form, different than the director of the first and second seasons of Sailor Moon Crystal. I don't think that he did a horrible job, but I don't think that the rhythm of the manga were really there, especially in key moments. Like the stronger moments of the plot kind of let down a little bit, and I think that Chiaki-kon is someone who can look at the manga and put it into an animation form in a form that makes sense. So I think that she did it perfectly in Eternal. There is a lot of life to every single character, and the Dreams arc is a story from Sailor Moon that focuses a lot on the characters. Everything concerning this arc is about the characters, different from the Stars arc, for example. In this arc, we have all the characters basically being focused in certain moments. So in the first movie, we have a big focus on the 4 inners and also Sailor Moon and Chibi Moon, which are the main characters of both movies, and also Helios, which is an important character in this arc as well. So in the first movie, we have the 4 inners mini arcs, and I love the way they handled each of them. I think that there is a lot in each of the characters, and they did such a great job in developing their inner monologues and their dialogues with themselves, and those moments in which you get to see their dreams and their nightmares. It felt really emotional and real. Visually, it was very beautiful, especially the moment the girls realize their dreams and how their friends are important to them. They really adapted the manga visually at that moment, in those moments, like in Umi's dream, in oh my god, it was so good. I really loved it. And I was really thinking that they were going to tone down some moments, like for example in Day's dream, when she is looking at herself in the mirror and she's almost kissing Tiger's eye. I thought, oh my god, they're not gonna adapt that. They're gonna change that. They're gonna do something else. But they were brave enough to do it. I commend them for that. It was very good. Like maybe the kiss, the Chibiusa and Helios kiss as well. They really went on and did it. I commend them for it. Some people might think it's strange. I don't care. I love it the way it is. So for me, it was gorgeous. And as I said, it was really a love letter to the manga at certain points. Like, for example, in Venus's little part, there are some shots from the manga that were adapted from in the anime, in the movie. Oh my god, so pretty. So pretty. Like, very, very beautiful. And I think that the 4 dreams of the inners, they were worked very nicely. I really liked that little touch they put on Mako's dream. After she defeated Hawk's-Eye, Hawk's-Eye shares his own dream and how happy he was. That he had a little time, but he had a little time to fulfill his dream. That was very nice. That's not in the manga. As I said, I don't care if it's not a 1-per-1 from the manga, if it is a great adaptation, if they keep on the same stuff in general. And that's what I think Eternal is. And I really loved that moment. We don't see much of the Amazon trio in the manga, so I was expecting that. I was not expecting to see more of them in the movies, and thankfully they didn't maybe shove them in other places they were not supposed to be. I like it that way because they were supposed to be defeated by the inners. They did that in the first season by taking away the moments they defeat the generals and made them very weak. And so I was very thankful that didn't happen this time around, thankfully. And we also have the visual part, the transformations and the attacks, which looked incredible. But I really want to get much deeper into that. I really want to do another video only talking about the visual part in transformations and attacks, what I loved about them, and maybe some of the things I didn't like. So that's for another video. Talking about the inners, still very, very good. The Amazon trio was something I was very, very excited to watch. One of the things I love about them in the manga is how flamboyant they are. And I was also afraid that they might tone it down in the movie and change it a little bit. But no, girl, it was very, very similar to what we have in the original. And I loved that too. They didn't try to tone down their femininity, and the voice actors were very good in portraying how they speak and how they, express themselves through voice. I loved it. And they even gave it a little bit more flair to Tiger's Eye, who barely appears in the manga, and they give it a little bit more flair in that moment. It was a good choice, I think, even though we're going to get a little bit more into that later on when I'm going to talk about another thing. So that was great. And in the second movie, we have The Outers. The Outers is a very special case because we never had something like that about The Outers before. And that moment is probably one of my favorite moments in Sailor Moon media in general. It was only in the manga, now it's animated too. I loved how they did it. So we have the first movie ending in a cliffhanger, and then the second movie starts with The Outers. But we have a special scene at the end of the first movie. It's like a post-credit scene with Hotaru, and I love how artsy they went with Hotaru in the movies. Girl, love it. Hotaru is my favorite character. My favorite anime character, my favorite manga character ever is her / Sailor Saturn. So I was super happy with her. Oh my god, everything. Freaking out. So I was very happy to see that moment with The Outers. It was pretty much greatly adapted. We had a moment for each of the outers as well. They don't have as much focus as the inners. Again, this is from the original, and I didn't want to see the original being changed. So I was happy with the way it was done. It was very nice. And so I think that moment that the outers were living as a family and Hotaru acknowledging them as a family is very important. I don't know how things are around the world right now, but here in Brazil, there was a big talk on the internet on the other day because someone from a church saying that they don't agree with homosexuality, but they respect people that are homosexuals. And there was this big debate over, if you don't agree, do you respect? In my opinion, no, you don't respect. But I don't want to get deeper into that. If you don't agree, you don't respect. There is nothing to agree. You don't have to agree to anything. We are living our lives. You live yours. You don't have to agree to anything. We're not asking for your opinion or your permission. But I don't want to stray away. What I want to say is we have a homosexual relationship being shown and a different composition of a family being shown on a movie, and it's very interesting how Hotaru acknowledges them as a family, because I think that media is very helpful when it comes to normalizing situations, and I feel like this is a good way of helping this subject, if that makes sense. But for me it does, and so like this made me happy for this specific reason. And there's also the whole emotional attachment I have with the characters themselves. I really love them. And it's very interesting how with a little time you can work with those characters very well. You can say a lot about those characters. Like all three of them have very successful careers in their own areas, and you can see that with Michiru saying one line about each. You can see how they're living as a family, with Haruka mentioning the price of baby stuff when she sees it on the store, and you can see how Hotaru read all the books. So like you see, like with just little phrases you can notice how their life is being now that they're not fighting as sailors, and how they are developing their lives as a family. And it's a very strong feeling I have at this moment. It's probably one of my favorite parts of Sailor Moon ever. I really love it. But there's also Hotaru's awakening or reawakening as Sailor Saturn, which is crucial to the events of the movie for a couple of reasons. And I think that one of the things that I really love about this part in the manga is that it feels very ethereal. You see Hotaru narrating things, and you see she is growing. You see that strange things are happening, she is noticing them, and she starts growing up. She gets to know her real self in the mirror, that moment, in everything. And you know, the way they hide their eyes, and you see Hotaru speaking poems, like in a very beautiful way. I love her voice actor so much. She does such a great job. And it's ethereal, and they went on artsy, a little artsy in some moments with her. I loved that. It makes so much sense at that moment of the story. So it was really, really good. So that moment delivered everything that I wanted and more. And then seeing the Outers get their powers back and transform, and oh my god, like powerful, really, really powerful. And so in the second movie we have more of the lore of the actual story, and more of the lore of the Earth and the origins of Neherenia, the villain, and Zirconia, and everything that led up to the actual events of the Dreams arc. I think that there is a very strange thing in the second movie. They changed the order of one of the events of the first movie. In the manga, when Mina is being saved by Artemis, the story stops right there, and we have the Outers part and their awakening. And then we come back to the Venus awakening. So the Outers in the manga awaken first, then Venus. But that is one of the adaptations that I think the movie did very well. As I said, it doesn't need to be one per one, because we have the first movie just for the inners and the second one for the other events. So it was very nice that they changed the order of this. So in the manga, the rhythm of things are a little different. Venus gets saved by Artemis, and she awakens her power as Super Sailor Venus, and then they get captured, the Outers arrive, and then she connects herself again with Artemis. And in the movie they kept her reunion with Artemis in a very strange place. It doesn't make much sense after a long break for us that are following the story. You know, I felt that it was a little strange. That reconnection with Artemis should have come in the first movie before they were captured by the Amazonas Quartet. But anyways, I don't think that that is a big problem. I think that the second movie has a bit of a longer middle part than the first, which is the lore, the explanation, and the nightmares. There's a lot of the nightmares too. Here's another thing that I want to talk about: adaptation. The Sailor Moon manga is a gore manga in lots of different places. Naoko really likes it. She gets full on with gore, and there are lots of gory scenes in this arc. One of them was in the Mars fight. when she shoots the arrow in Tiger's eye, when she hits him, you see the arrow going through him, you see the arrow past him, and then you see a lot of blood. In the movie, they changed it, and so the arrow hit the mirror, destroying Tiger's eye in his human form. It's different in the manga. So they toned down the gore since season 1. And it never happens in the anime adaptations as they happen in the manga. I don't necessarily think this is a problem. This is a style that Naoko likes. Being in the story or not, it doesn't really change the outcome, but there are certain points of the Sailor Moon story which I think they're kind of important. And this is one of the moments that I thought they were very important. In the nightmare part, we have the sailors freaking out because Sailor Moon turned into stone, and she disappears in front of their eyes. And Sailor Venus freaks out, and oh my god. And in the manga, it's almost like that, but a little different. It's very gore. It's a gory scene in the manga. It's not really turning into stone. I think that one of the things Naoko really loves drawing is the skeletons of the characters. So you see the characters melting. It's different. It's just different. And then when Sailor Moon is having her own nightmare, she sees her hands. In the movie, she sees her hands turning into stone, and she's breaking and disappearing. And, in the manga, it's not stone. You see she sees herself disintegrating. I think that the overall idea of the desperation, the despair of the moment is fine. You turning into stone is scary. It's a despair moment. Yeah, I think that the movie conveyed it pretty nicely. But in the way it's done in the manga, it's even more despairing. But overall, I just think that it just was done well. It's just one of those things that I miss a little bit. But I really don't want this to be a comparison video between the manga and the adaptation. No. And there are other things that I want to talk about here, which are in the second movie we have the climax of the movie. Which is the strongest part of it. I live for that moment. We see the sailors turning into their princesses and, chanting the names of their castles and giving their powers to Sailor Moon and turning her into Eternal Sailor Moon. Eternal Sailor Moon defeats Nehelenia. That is a very beautiful moment for me. I really love it. And some of the people get confused in the princess turning into sailors and turning into princesses again. It's not that I don't get confused, but I think there's a reason for that. I won't get deep into it in this video, but I think that when they're sailors, they're giving their powers. When they're princesses, they are actually in more of a ceremonial dress. When they actually have to give their powers, they turn into sailors. So it's how different they are. And that moment was very pretty, and it plays that beautiful song, which is Moon Effect. I love it. It is one of the highlights of my life watching that, okay? I freaked out so much while watching that. It was really, really strong. I also love the Nehelenia story, the original Nehelenia story, her past and how she was born into this world and how she came back. I really like it. It has that uninvited guest trope. Naoko used that very well. And it also dates back until the start of the story. And Saturn even mentions how it connects to her own role as past Sailor Saturn in when things happened in the moon. So I really love that moment. And another thing that I found very interesting is those little mentions, when they mention certain things, Mars is the one to notice it because Mars is the most sensitive one. And Neptune also is someone who's very sensitive. She can notice things. Love that as well about it. So those little moments, I think that they make a lot of sense. But I think they're more for the diehard fans, probably. And I also love how the cats turn into humans at the end. And oh my god, so precious. So precious. So overall, the two movies are really, really great, really perfect in my view, my favorite movies. And I think that I like the second movie more than the first. Even though there is that part in the middle that's very explanatory and they showing the story and everything, I still love that part. I really like it. There are very special moments in the middle of them, so I really like them too. And the one thing that I found very strange was the ending of the first movie. So we have a theme song for the movies. It's Moon Color Shine On, Tsuki Ito Shine On, that is sung by Momohiro Clover Z. It's an amazing song. I really love it. But they're played at the end of the movie, which doesn't make much sense to me. I think they should have been played at the start of the first movie. It would have worked nicely. At least half of the song, like an opening. I don't know. But look, the first movie ends in a tense moment of the story. It doesn't end in a moment that song would fit. So they just end abruptly with the sailors being captured, Sailor Moon being unable to act, and everything else. So it just ends, and then Tsukito Shannon starts playing. It doesn't connect. For us that have the two movies ready at the same time, great. But for people who went to the cinemas and watched the first movie and then a month after watched the second, it must have been pretty weird. But that's not the last feeling you have when you watch the first movie, because you have the little Hotaru scene at the end, which I freaked out when I saw it, even though I already knew that it happened. Oh my god. I freaked out. And, the movie itself wasn't very surprising to me. Nothing was a surprise because I know the story, but you can't understand. I freaked out in so many moments of this movie. So many moments, I just don't even know how to describe it to you, because I freaked out. And, I cried, I screamed. It was a ride. There's also a very important moment, at least for me, which are the Amazonas Quartet. I really love them as characters. I really love how they handled the 4 characters. I love their designs, I love their colors, and they looked very pretty in the movie, and everything concerning their animations looked very nice. I love the whip from Vis. They really played with that whip, lots of times. You could see that a lot. Great. And the moment I've been waiting for, when they turned into sailors. Girl! I screamed, I cried. I love that moment in the Sailor Moon story so much. I was expecting that with my life. And when Eternal Sailor Saturn stepped forward with the balls in her hand, I was like, oh my god, it's gonna happen now. Come to us. Really loved it. It was very nice. I just loved their characters. It was very well done, perfectly. And this is another moment to show how the sailors aren't really turning into princesses and then sailors and princesses again, with no reason. They turned into princesses when they got in contact with their powers, and they turned to the princesses of their planets. And when they had to give their powers to Sailor Moon, they turned into sailors. And then when the coronation moment started to happen with the prince and the princess, they turned into their princesses' selves, because it was a coronation-like moment. But Eternal Sailor Saturn kept on her sailor form because she still had a mission as a sailor. So that goes to show that there is a difference in their forms as being a sailor and as being a princess. I said I wasn't going to go deep into this, but I ended up going a little deeper than I wanted. Another thing that I love about their eternal form is how colorful and bright they look. After almost a whole movie of night and dark light, we see the sun again. The sun is shining bright, so their colors are very vivid at that moment. And we see Chibiusa getting in contact with Helios. That ending is so beautiful to me. I love it. And I also love the Chibiusa relationship with Helios. I know some people find it scary. I think I would like to do a video on that. People think that it's weird that Chibiusa talks like that about her father. I think that it should all be addressed in a Chibiusa video because I really like her character. I don't know, I just enjoy the way Naoko does her, even though sometimes it looks a little strange, like when she kisses her father. It's like, girl, what are you trying to do? But I understand what she was trying to convey, and I like the conclusion between Chibiusa and Helios. And the conclusion of the movie is also very pretty. Sailor Moon talking about the stars they have in their hearts. Girl? A tragedy is on its way, okay? A big tragedy is on its way. So, I don't know, the Stars arc, I live. There are some things that I ended up not addressing in the video that I feel like I should really talk about them, which are, first, Ami's mom. She looked so beautiful. Oh my god, I loved seeing her. I also really loved seeing Phobos and Deimos. It's been a long time coming. We finally see them animated. I really loved that moment between them and Mars. I loved seeing Mars as a kid acknowledging them as Phobos and Deimos. I loved their moment with the Mars crystal. Everything about that was perfect. And there is another moment which is probably one of my favorite parts of the movie as well, which is when Sailor Saturn and Chibi Moon go to the circus and fight together against the Amazoness Quartet. You can really see that Sailor Saturn has the drive in her eyes not to hurt them or not to kill them because she knows there is a certain truth behind them, but she doesn't really speak on that. She knows there's something, and it has a lot to do with Saturn being the one that can not control, but understand time and how it goes by, and she can replicate the whole creation of the universe. And I think that she can understand how things should have their own time and they should be respected. So they shouldn't be there at that time. They shouldn't have been awakened. So they need to wake up and understand that that was not their place. They were being controlled. I really loved that moment, and I love the whole animation in that part. Everything looked so beautiful. I was really waiting for the circus moment, and me being a Sailor Saturn fan, they delivered so much. It was also nice that we saw a Silent Slave surprise with no real stock footage animation. That was a plus. Unfortunately, we don't get to see many attacks from the sailors outside of stock footage in this movie. I don't think that's a problem, but that is something I like seeing. So I liked seeing Saturn with no stock footage, which was just her, wielding the Silent Slave. Super beautiful. Another moment just for me to freak out and just for me to go wild with my fanboy heart. Anyways, this was pretty long. So I think that for the overall feelings for the movie, I don't think I said it all. But I don't want this video to be like an hour-long video. So I'm just gonna share how my experience was while watching it for the first time. Okay, so I live in Brazil, so things come to Netflix at 4 a.m. So I prepared myself for this day. I asked for a day off at the job. I didn't really need it because there was a lockdown and then I got a vacation. So the day before, I ordered cookies from my favorite place here in my city. The cookies were here. I got everything ready. I did a big Sailor Moon altar in the front of my television. Girl, everything was ready for Sailor Moon Eternal. I woke up. I made myself some coffee. I got the cookies and I started watching it. And I got all my Sailor Moon t-shirts. I chose one to watch with a Sailor Moon t-shirt. It was a very powerful... And the day before, I couldn't sleep. I slept like 2 hours or something because I was so anxious. And I was anticipating this moment. I really was anticipating this moment. And I have to say, it really paid off. It was even better than what I was expecting. Really. It's not better than the manga for me, but it's still very good. It's my favorite piece of animated media when it comes to Sailor Moon. Like, by far. Not by far, because Crystal Season 3 is probably very close, but this one is my favorite now, I think. And, well, talking about favorite arcs, I think that Infinity is better than Dreams overall, but talking about animation, Eternal is better than Crystal Season 3 for me now. And I think Eternal is now my favorite piece of Sailor Moon media ever. Girl, I live for this movie. I really do. And now, just before we end, I want to say that I thought of a project. Since I can't really be very objective about things when it comes to Sailor Moon because I'm a very big fan, I want to do like a club reading of Sailor Moon, of the manga, and I want to start this next month. My idea is to do a video at the end of every month talking about one chapter of the manga. So we start next month with the first chapter, first act, and then on next month we start with the second act, and there we go until the end, analyzing and discussing every single chapter. So if you have the Sailor Moon manga, if you can access the Sailor Moon manga and you'd like to accompany me on this ride, I am probably starting this next month because I really want to read the chapter and think about it, analyze it in possible ways. And so if you'd like, you can join me next month or maybe this month, at the end of this month. I don't know. It's going to depend on the time and how I deal with time. And Pluto isn't really my friend when it comes to time. Pluto, oh my god, she was so pretty in Eternal. Girl, everybody was stunning in Eternal. So my idea is to read one act from the manga each month and do a video covering that act, talking about it and giving my ideas about it, and create a big discussion about it. So if you can read, if you can access the Sailor Moon manga, it would be very nice to have us reading it together. One act per month. It might seem a little, but I think it's a good way of analyzing the manga act by act. Anyways, this was my view. I'm probably going to do other videos on Sailor Moon Eternal. One talking about the attacks and the transformations, how I feel about them as a whole. And another one talking about Chibiusa, probably. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the Chibiusa one, but I really want to because I really like her character in the manga and in the movie. So maybe this is going to happen. Anyways, I want to take this time to thank the members of the Magical Cinnamon channel. Thank you for making this possible. Thank you for supporting the Magical Cinnamon idea and project. And if you've watched up until now, I'm so sorry for making this so long, but thank you so much as well. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye bye.